The perils of Bitcoin. I'm telling you, my friends, I'm telling you, your old buddy Josh, I'm not a rookie at this stuff. But do you not remember, we're going to use the proxy for gold, was a USAA Gold and Precious Metals Fund. From 2000 to 2000 and maybe 2001, I think it was 2001 to 2011, the Gold and Precious Metals Fund averaged 37% a year rate of return. $10,000 invested in that fund would have been worth $145,000 at the end of 2011. That fund was the number one fund of the decade in the aughts. Nothing came close. CGM had a focus fund, I think was what it's called. That came close, but the USAA Gold and Precious Metals Fund was the decade's best fund. I might be off by CGM, might have been the best. But anyway, either one, both of them just, they proceeded to get crushed. So gold, $10,000 invested, was worth $145,000 by the end of basically 10 years. In 2018, you could have bought Bitcoin for $10,000, all right? 2024 December, Bitcoin is worth 101. So the last 7 years, Bitcoin has basically, I don't even know what that is, 10 times. Again, you bought it 10,000, 7 years later, it's worth, what did I say, 101. Well, we'll just say 100 for simplicity. So 10 times 10 is 100. So it's gone up 10 times. Gold and precious metals went up from 10 to 140 over that 10 to 11 year time frame. Bitcoin has averaged about 39% a year for the last 10 years. Oh, excuse me, the last, since 2018. Isn't that very interesting? What was the backing of gold and precious metals? Was it earnings? Nope. Was it tradability? I suppose. It wasn't gold price necessarily. It was just the gold company stocks. So they're liquid. But what was the backing? Oh, Obama is going to crush, the U.S. is going to go in major debt. So gold is going to tear it up. And what proceeded to not happen? Gold didn't tear it up. But at least you could make an argument with gold and precious metals that they're liquid, i.e. you could easily liquidate them. There's a big market for it. And we can say the same about Bitcoin, I suppose. Very easy to liquidate gold and precious metals company stock. Because remember, this is just ETF or mutual funds. It's not the actual gold itself. You can make an argument that, hey, their companies were still profitable. They're making earnings. What was the PE ratios at that point? I have no clue. No clue. But you can make an argument still, at the end of the day, that they were making money. They were profitable. At some point, winners took money out. They took their profits. At some point, they took their profits, and they obviously reinvested in the equity market because the equity markets since then have just gone insane. So the issue with Bitcoin, as always, is the lack of a currency. You're not going to use Bitcoin to buy a pizza like they did in 2015 or something like that, when it was trading at $300. The lack of currency, it's just not going to be a currency. And then secondly, the idea that the U.S. government is going to be cool with Bitcoin, replace the dollar, is just dumb. On top of that, there's a store of value, is what people say. And they say the same thing about gold. Historically, gold has proven to be a store of value. Literally has. I mean, it hasn't been a huge store of value, but generally it's kept up with inflation, give or take, over the long term. On any given 10, 20, 30-year cycle, it hasn't. But generally speaking, over the long term, it has. An ounce of gold would buy a good suit back in 1950, and it can still buy a good suit now too. Now, I don't know that to be exactly true, but that would be the idea behind gold, is that an ounce of gold will buy you this. The problem with Bitcoin, of course, is that it doesn't have that store of value. Everyone thinks it has a store of value simply because it only has 21 million Bitcoins out there. That in of itself isn't a store of value. It's just not, man. I mean, you could say the same thing about any baseball card collection. The only reason my freaking, Cal Ripken's brother, Brett, I think it's Brett Ripken. The only reason people like the Brett Ripken baseball card, even though there's very few printed, was because it had on the bottom of the baseball bat, it said F face. It was pretty funny. But no one really cared about that, other than it said F-Face and it's Brett Ripken's or Cal Ripken's brother. No one said, oh my goodness, there's not that many, these cars printed. I mean, you can go back to Ken Griffey Jr. rookie cars in Upper Deck, and that's, relatively rare, and I got a couple of them. And you can say, look, this is the reason why this is valuable because there's so few printed. Well, there's also a bunch of Upper Deck Upper Deck cars in that box that aren't worth a damn. Why? It has nothing to do with that. The supply is limited. It has to do with the value. There's no one has a value for it. And the same thing's going to happen with Bitcoin. I'm just amazed how many people look and say, man, if I would have bought Bitcoin back in 2015 when it was trading at 300, I'd be a multi-millionaire now. Yeah, but it's not trading at 2015 numbers now. It's just not, man. It's trading at $100,000. So for it to go from 2015, I mean, people also forget too, from Bitcoin to have gone from 320 back in 2015 or whatever it was to 10,000 in 2018 is more than Bitcoin going from 10,000 to 100,000. You get that, right? Bitcoin to go from 300 to 400 to 10,000 is actually a bigger increase than Bitcoin going from 10 to 100. Just think about it. How many times does 10,000 divide by 315? I don't know off the top of my head what it is. I think it's like 21 or something like that. I might be wrong there. But it's more than 10 because 10, it's 300 times 10 is 3,000. So it's more than 10. I think it's 30 actually, roughly 30. So Bitcoin to go to the same level of return that it has since 2018 from 10,000 to now would have to be, I don't know, it's a factor of 10 on $100,000. I don't know what's 100,000 times 10. I can't do that in my head. Is that a million? I think it's a million, right? 100,000 times 10. Is that a million? Really? What the basis of Bitcoin going to a million is what? So Bitcoin to go to 100,000 to 500,000, that's a 5 times increase. What would cause that to happen? Anyway, I just find it funny. People say, look at the returns of Bitcoin, and they're seeing it as a decelerating rate of return. It's still a good return. I'm not, hell, if you made money on it, more power to you. Like I said, I have a couple clients that made bank on it. They stayed through it, man. I just don't understand why people would take the gains off the table. I don't get it, but people don't. That's okay. But I remember this one guy, I said, man, you got to take some. This is back in 2000 when it's still at 66,000. Is it 2021, I think? Maybe 22, I can't remember. I said, dude, we got to sell some Bitcoin. I'm going to hold it tight. And then it proceeded to go down to 17,000. And it's back up to $100,000. So that guy proved me wrong, 100%. Many guys have proved me wrong over time, not going to lie to you. But don't forget, the easy gains of this stuff are behind us now because there's no earnings to justify this. There just isn't any. And that's what I'm telling the people. I say, look, man, at the end of the day, we've had many instances of massive run-ups, and people say, if I would have invested in XYZ company at this price, I would be a multi-millionaire. So I'm going to invest in it now. And I just think that's a big mistake. Say, I'm going to invest in it now because of the rate of return it had from the past. Because that rate of return has been so exponential that it would have to go, like I just said, to $1 million to have the same exponential rate that we had over the last 5-6 years or so. And then to go from 300 to 10,000 again, I don't even know what it have to be. It's 29 times. So whatever 29 times 100,000 is. I just think that people they just look at the returns. They just can't help it. They can't help themselves. I'm going to do that because of this. I'm like, okay. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. A lesson from experience. Look, I could easily be wrong, dude. I could still be sitting there, in freaking trailer park Josh, and you guys are living in McMansions with freaking Trump. I could still be sitting there, and frankly, I'd be okay with that. But because I don't want to speculate on my money, I don't like to gamble, and Bitcoin is nothing but speculation. Yeah, I don't like Bitcoin. I think it's silly. The crypto. Who's that Hawk Tua chick? The fact that anything like this could happen. My son was just telling me about Hawk Tua chick. I was like, the fact that Hawk Tua chick, I don't even know what the hell's going on there. I just know it's a cryptocurrency, and people are like, and I'm like, dude, why would? All right. Love your thoughts. God bless. We'll see you.